Showtime. Welcome to the show, one and all. Settle in, get the coffee going, get the tea going, get the beverage of your choice going. Are you ready for our guest tonight? Jordan Maxwell is going to be joining us tonight. Now, let me just read. Now, many of you listening to the show right now know Jordan Maxwell, and everybody knows he needs no introduction. But for the very few of you out there that have never heard of our guest tonight, Jordan Maxwell has written, produced, and appeared in multiple television shows and documentaries, including, are you ready for this, folks? 3 two-hour specials for the CBS TV network, as well as the internationally acclaimed 5-part Ancient Mysteries series. Everybody remembers that. I want to welcome Jordan to the show for the very first time. I'm Brent Holland. Everybody, welcome to Night Fright. Let's get going. How you doing, Jordan?
Well, I think pretty good. We'll find out soon enough.
Okay, my friend. Okay, you had asked me to do this at the end of the show, but I want to do it right away, and I want to continue doing it all through the show because I think this is a very important subject matter. You have a Kickstarter campaign going for your legal defense. Can you explain to our listeners what's going on in your life right now, Jordan?
Yes, I've had about 4.5 years ago, I had a young man come in to, he met me for the first time, and he saw how I was living and wanted to help me, and I had no help, so I accepted him to, and he decided he wanted to be my webmaster and help me do fulfillment on my orders, and I lived by myself with nothing, so I needed the help, so I let him. Well, after a while, I found out that he's not the kind of person I want to be around. So I confronted him on that and told him I don't want to be around you anymore. I know what you're doing. And so he took because he was my webmaster, he has the codes and username and all that kind of stuff. I don't. He does. So he went in and changed the ownership of my website and redirected my email to himself. And then behind my back went and copyrighted all of my books and materials and everything I've ever done. He copyrighted in his name and then tried to trademark my name and steal the money and take everything. So that as an old man, 74 years old, this 28-year-old kid came in and took everything, stole it all. And so to teach me a lesson. So I have to go to court and get my life back, get my work and my money and my products and everything I've worked for my whole life. I've got to fight him in court to get it all back. And so, but matter of fact, I don't have anything because he took what little bit I did have. So I have some friends here who thought it would be a good idea to put up a Kickstarter so I could pay for my defense. And immediately this kid starts pulling down all of the social networks connected to the Kickstarter. He pulled down the Twitter account and the YouTube account and Facebook and everything else that had been set up for me to promote the Kickstarter. It's all been pulled down. He has threatened to sue everybody. And now now he went after the Kickstarter campaign itself. So we pulled it down, and the attorney that I have has said, just pull it down because he's going to pull it down the next day or so anyway. So the only thing he cannot touch is the only presence I have on the web. He cannot touch because I don't actually own it, so it's not. He can't claim that it belongs to me. But it is my website for the moment. It's called Jordan Maxwell Show. Very simple. It's a little podcast that I've been doing, and it's and on that Jordan Maxwell Show podcast is a little donate button. So I can't do the podcast. I mean, I can't do the Kickstarter now because it's being pulled down because of him, and all of my social networks have been pulled down because of him. So I'm left penniless with no way to fight except on Jordan Maxwell Show. There is a donate button, and anything that goes there goes directly to my lawyer. I've got a really top-of-the-line lawyer, that's entertainment copyright attorney, and he's telling me this kid's guilty of some real serious felonies, but we got to go to court and fight this, and so I just need the help to pay the lawyer. I'm not asking for anything for myself.
Okay.
So if you want to help me with my work, just go to Jordan Maxwell Show. And there's about 34, 35, maybe 36 free shows I've been doing. Cost you nothing. And there's a button there if you want to help contribute to my legal defense. It's there, and I appreciate it if you wanted to help me. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're very welcome, Jordan, and we will be doing that again, folks, before the hour is out. If you're just joining us, Jordan Maxwell's with us tonight. We're going to be looking at all kinds of stuff that he's been researching, hidden Bible teachings and mysteries, the story of the church and what the church doesn't want you to know, secret societies, world mysteries, ancient and modern, and all kinds of things in between. www.nightfrightshow.com. Once you're there, folks, click on tonight's guest's cover. That'll take you right to Jordan Maxwell's website himself, and you'll be able to donate and give money to him right there. I want to help him out on this, folks. This is a righteous cause, I believe. Okay, Jordan, let's jump in, shall we?
Well, let me throw this in first. There's
Sure.
one other thing I forgot to mention. My website, which was stolen from me, was jordanmaxwell.com. Very simple, jordanmaxwell.com. But for 4 years, that has not been my website. And so a lot of people are donating money to that, and the kid that stole it from me is sending out emails saying, "Hi, this is Jordan Maxwell. I need your financial support." And people have been, been very generous in sending money, thinking they're sending it to me. But for 4 years, I have had nothing to do with that website. So my attorney tells me that's mail fraud, misrepresentation, et cetera, jail time kind of stuff. So
Oh boy,
just let everybody know that I have nothing to do, do not have anything to do with jordanmaxwell.com. It was stolen from me, and I don't own it anymore until I can get into court and get my life back.
And folks, we will be putting the proper, correct website link up at www.nightfrightshow.com, which once again, Jordan Maxwell Show, jordanmaxwellshow.com. That's the correct website. All right, Jordan, let's jump in. You know, oddly enough, and sometimes I do things that are very odd, as fans of this show will know, I just happened to be watching Angels and Demons last night, and I thought a good place to start off would not be the Illuminati, but I'd like to go to September 28th, 1978, and the death of John Paul I, who was Pope at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm of the vintage where I remember this startling.
Me too.
And I was so taken aback to think that a pope could be gone within a month. To me, it was unprecedented. Now, we ended up what I thought was with a great pope. I really liked John Paul II on many aspects. There's many things about the church I disagree with, of course, but I think he had a good heart and the best of intentions. Perhaps you may disagree with me on that, but I would like to start there, if that's okay. If we could look at the Vatican banker and what happened to poor John Paul I.
Yeah, that's quite a story, and there's been quite a few very good books written on the subject of the assassination of that Pope and the fact that he was, well, I guess he died on the 33rd day.
I think it was something like that, yeah.
The 32nd of the 33rd day he died. He told, I was reading that he told the College of Cardinals not to, don't make him Pope, do not think about it, because if he gets in, he's going to expose Propaganda Due, P2, which is a quasi-Masonic order inside of the Vatican, a secret society within the Vatican. It's called Propaganda Due, or P2. Incidentally, P2 was mentioned 3 times in Godfather 3. In the third Godfather movie, P2 was mentioned 2 or 3 times. 2 times for sure, I remember. So it is a legitimate story about a secret society operating inside the Vatican. It's connected to its parent, or one of, like maybe they're connected, at the same time, simultaneously, to a group called Opus Dei. Opus Dei. Opus Dei means the work of God. Well, you better figure out what God they're talking about. So Opus Dei and P2, Propaganda Due, is a secret, 2 secret societies operating together inside the Vatican.
Now,
And
do they work in tandem with each other? Or
yeah, I think they do.
They
Yes,
do,
I
do
think
they?
they do.
And how big
And
are these secret societies? Is there many?
What was it again?
How big are the societies? Are there thousands of members or just several?
No, I would think there's quite a few, but not thousands. No, I would anticipate probably less than 100. But the people who are in there are very powerful. So you don't need a lot of extremely powerful people to do something. All you need are the right names. And Propaganda Due has been known and researched by authors both in Europe, Italy, and America. And what they found out is that Propaganda Due and Opus Dei on the back end of it is the main terrorist organization around the world. They are probably a tool. I was expecting both Propaganda Due and Opus Dei are a tool, myself, this is my view. I think they're probably a tool in the hands of the Jesuits. Because in my book, the Jesuits are at the bottom line on all of this stuff that's going on in the world today. But Propaganda Due has been known and proven over and over again to be one of the most powerful, treacherous terrorist organizations that causes terrorist activity around the world in Arabia, in the Middle East. So much of what we call Middle Eastern terrorism is actually Propaganda Due and Opus Dei.
Now, are they committing murders, Jordan, or is this...
Oh, without a doubt.
Oh, they are. It's not just financial terrorism, then.
No. I'm talking about blowing up buses and blowing up tunnels and that kind of thing is what Opus Dei, Propaganda Due is well known for. And Opus Dei is referred to, as I said, as the work of God. Well, yes, when you understand that the concept that the Vatican works on is that all religions in the world and all peoples on the earth that are not members of the Vatican, that are not Catholic, that are not dedicated Catholics, are the enemy of God. Therefore, you're easy pickings for the Vatican. But it's not, the Vatican is not going to be seen in the end of this. It's going to be done by secret societies operating within the Vatican. Well, that shouldn't come as any great surprise because we've known, when I was a kid growing up, I knew that the mafia was always, mafiosis and gangsters were always being buried in the Catholic Church under the auspices of the Catholic Church. Anytime big mafiosis and gangsters would die, there would be big funerals at the church, at the local cathedral for these people. So it's been known for hundreds of years that the Vatican is connected directly to mafia, the Cosa Nostra. It's directly connected to secret societies of terrorism, human sacrifice, white slavery, buying and selling of children for sex, narcotics distribution, South America, Central America being Catholic, Colombia being a very Catholic country with the Colombian cartels. The Vatican is heavily involved in all sorts of dark things that we, generally speaking, have no idea in the world about. And
now,
so...
just to interrupt you here a second, now, there's P2 operating as a clandestine black ops type of
exactly,
operation for the Vatican. Is the Pope aware? How high up to... Oh,
absolutely. No doubt in my mind
really?
about that. Yeah. You couldn't possibly be Pope and not know it. I mean, how could you be the head of one of the largest religious institutions in the world and not know that inside of your organization is manipulating world affairs? You're manipulating the World Bank, international banking, international commerce, maritime admiralty law in the America. Obviously. And how could, let's go back and give you an example.
Sure.
Godfather 3, if you remember.
Sure, remember. Good movie.
Michael Corleone at the beginning of the movie is being knighted into the Knights of Malta.
That's right.
and you mean the church didn't know who Michael Corleone was? And then later on we see in Godfather 3, Michael Corleone with his attorneys, and they're in the Vatican, doing business with the Holy Father, if you remember.
Mm-hmm, I really do. Yep.
So what I'm saying is that the whole world has of researchers, writers, authors, and especially politicians and law enforcement agencies around the world, FBI, CIA, they all know this. The Vatican is a hub of international terrorism, pornography, violence, drug abuse, buying and selling of children, white slavery. It is the hub of all, in my opinion, the dirt of the world. And this is why we're not going to be able to get to the bottom of anything, because we're looking in the wrong place. We're chasing all of the soldiers out the street, but we're not looking at where the power lies in the dark world of the black ops operation. Now, when you understand that the United States, excuse me, I'm not feeling well.
Do you want to get a drink of water or anything?
Well, I have one here. I'll be in a minute.
It's not a problem.
But,
anytime you want to take a break, Jordan, no problem at all, my friend. Do what's best for you.
If you understand, the United States is, in fact, the Roman Empire today. And if you go back to the history books and read in the history of the Roman Empire, you will find that Caesar officially administered the empire from his headquarters in Rome, which was called Capitoline Hill, or Capitol Hill. And so many different encyclopedia and reference works on the Roman Empire said that Caesar would, in the morning, would go up on the hill, the term was, up on the hill. Mm-hmm. And what was the hill? It was called Capitoline Hill, or Capitol Hill. And Caesar would officiate over his government through the Roman Senate up on the hill. And so today we have a Senate up on the hill. And we have people, the presidents, who think that they are Julius Caesar, emperor of the world. And this is what the intellectual acumen is saying in Washington, D.C., that the president is the emperor of the earth. Well, actually, he has a boss, because nobody's emperor of anything. Though he may think he is God and can kill anyone he wishes, anytime he wishes, he still has a far, far more evil master. And the evil one is in the Vatican. And this is why it's a Roman Empire all over again. Now, when you begin to understand that the three foundations of Western civilization, as we see it in America,
yes, sir,
is philosophically, it's Greek. Most of our philosophical views and concepts come from the ancient Greeks. Our legality, our laws in relation to commerce and common law and all of that kind of thing, our laws are Jewish, pure, unadulterated Jewish laws, but philosophically Greek. But militarily and governmentally structured is Rome. So we are a triune Godhead in America. We are philosophically Greek, and our laws are Jewish, and our structure, our military and governmental structure, is Roman. And of course, we got a little bit of Egypt thrown in there, and Babylonia, and Sumeria, and Phoenicia came in, and a bunch of other stuff. But those are the three foundations. And incidentally, the Mississippi River is referred to as the Nile. And this is why on the Mississippi you will find so many cities that match the Nile. You have, what are some of the cities? I can't remember them right now, but you have Memphis.
Of course, yeah.
And Cairo.
That's right, yeah.
Going down the Mississippi. So that's the new Nile. And a lot of the names of the major cities on the Mississippi are on the Nile also. So America is, in point of fact, an occult establishment based on very ancient secret societies who have given us our religions, our political structures, our monetary structures, all go back to an ancient time. You know as well as I do, nothing comes to life out of a vacuum. Everything had a beginning, and that thing had a beginning, and probably that thing also had a beginning.
Let's go there in a second. Folks, we're speaking with Jordan Maxwell tonight. Don't go anywhere. Get the coffee going, get the tea going, get a beverage of your choice going, get in your comfy chair. You don't want to miss this one, folks. This is going to be astounding for you. www.nightfrightshow.com. Once you're there, click on tonight's guest cover. As always, that'll take you right to Jordan Maxwell's real, and I say real for a reason, his true website, which is jordanmaxwellshow.com. jordanmaxwellshow.com. Jordan, I want to come back to something that you had mentioned before, and that's the trafficking of young children for sexual purposes. For the uninitiated, that's going to sound fantastical.
Yeah, that's how it works.
How can we know that the Vatican's behind something like that?
Well, you can read the lawful documents. You can read the Roman and Italy, the research done by law enforcement in Italy. Read their documents and read what the people who are living in Italy are saying, and go back as far back as 1940s and read what the law enforcement and what the international law enforcement agencies were saying about the Vatican back then, back in the late 30s, early 40s and 50s. There was all kinds of documents and research being done, which was in-house literature, so that it wasn't being publicly promoted then. But this has been known for a long time.
Now, this is
an example. Let me give you a good example.
Please go ahead.
Back in 1989, I had an office in Glendale, California. And I got a phone call one day from an FBI agent. And he announced it. He said, I'm calling you, but this is a social call, not business. And so I said, give me your name. And he did. And I said, I'll call you back. And I hung up. And I called, he said he was an FBI agent in San Diego. So I called information and got the number for the FBI in San Diego. When I got them on the phone, I asked for his name, and they put me on to him. So now I have established in my mind he is who he says he is, because you never know who's calling you.
Agreed.
And so I said, okay, I know who you are now, so talk to me. And he said, I'm just going to tell you that we've been watching you for a long time, and you're going to be watched. And he said, but we don't have any problem with what you're doing. We don't see you as a threat to anyone. And he said, but if you are going to have trouble, your government is not going to be your problem. Your government does not see you as a problem. He said, but I'm telling you, you're going to have some serious problems if you continue to do what you do, from mostly from the Vatican. But it's going to be general from all religion. Religions in America are targeting you because you are a real, legitimate threat to the religious establishment. And anyone, and he says, we know at the FBI, we are well aware that the Vatican is probably one of the most sinister organizations on the earth. We know that. We understand the connection with the mafia, with international drug trades and violence and assassinations and the Jesuit intrigues. We understand all of that. It's just business to us. But you are, you're different. We have protection. You don't. And so just be aware that when you're talking about the Vatican and the Church in general, even the Protestant Church, which is connected directly to the Vatican through corporation souls and through different hidden business arrangements, the Protestant churches are connected directly to the Vatican. And so he said, so you're going to have some serious problems in your life, but it's not going to be from us, so just get that straight. It's not going to be from your government. We don't see you as a threat. If we do, we'll knock on your door and let you know. But you're going to have problems from the Vatican and from the church and from the churches in general, because we know, he said, we at the FBI know that religion, period, is one of the biggest scams and underworld operation scams going on the earth. We've known that for a long time. Anytime you can, make this kind of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, and can sway the minds of millions of people, you got to figure there's something going on here.
Now, Jordan, is this all about control and money of the masses?
Well, it's mostly control and ownership of the masses. It's like,
ownership.
It has to do with you as a cattleman with your cattle. The cattle are business to you. You make money. You live well and make a lot of money off of your cattle. So therefore, you have to make sure that nobody steals your cattle at night. Nobody is poisoning your cattle, and make sure they're well fed so they'll bring a good price when you sell them. And if they get sick or if there's a disease among them, you've got to take care of it quickly, because you own a huge head of cattle, and they are very, very expensive, and that's your money. And your money buys you power. And if so you've got to make sure you take care of your cattle. And so that's exactly right. If you go back, try to understand the thinking of this. You go back to the Roman Empire some 2,000, say 300 years ago, to the Roman Empire under the Caesars. Well, at that time, the world of that time, the progressive world of that time was Europe. Both North, East, West, and Southern Europe was dominated by the Roman Empire, much less the Middle East and Egypt and the rest of it.
That's right.
All of the Mediterranean. And so Rome dominated Europe for 2,300 years under the Vatican for the past 1,600 years or so. So it's always, and the Pope today represents Caesar, the emperor of Europe. Why? Because his very title of the Pope is Pontifex Maximus. Pontifex Maximus means the great bridge builder. This was a term which was given to the Caesars of Rome. They were called the bridge builders.
Interesting.
And so Pontifex Maximus was a title for the Caesars of Rome. Now today the Pope is the Caesar in Rome. And Rome has dominated, as I said, Rome has dominated Europe for about 2,300 years. Rome has dominated Europe, and Europe for 2,300 years has dominated the world. And so all of the last 2,300 years of history of the world is Europe dominating the planet. Well,
has there been any instances in the past, Jordan, that maybe you could refer to that somebody has stood up against the tide?
Yeah. I would say a classic example is the founding of the United States of America by Freemasons. Yeah, that's a classic example, standing up against the powers that be in Europe, and
the people.
understanding that Most of the people who founded the United States of America who gave us and gave their life to ensure that we could have freedom and liberty and justice for all, and to enjoy worshiping God in any way you please, or not to worship at all, to have human dignity and human freedom. Well, that's the one thing that gang leaders and warlords are not interested in. They're not interested in a lot of things, but paramount, one thing they're not interested in is having everybody be free and do whatever you want to do. No, no, no. If you're going to be a gang leader, everybody in your gang and everybody in the area of the city in which you rule has to understand you are the boss of all bosses, and anybody crosses you gets killed. They're found in an alley. So this is what happened in Europe. The Pope has to make sure everybody understands that Rome is God, period. And he's the Holy Father. This is where the mafia gets the idea of a godfather, because the Pope represents God and he's the Holy Father. Get it? Godfather.
Yeah. Very good, yeah.
So therefore, you need to understand that the Vatican represents the darkest forces on the earth, period. My dear mother and father and my dear family, all who are gone now, were all Catholics. I was born and raised a Catholic. So I'm not complaining about the Catholic people. I'm not, and you're not complaining about the Jewish people when you talk about the Rothschilds. You're talking about one family. You're not talking about all Jews in the world. Well, when you talk about mafia, you're not talking about all Italians on the earth. No, just a handful. So what I'm talking about, what I'm saying now, has nothing to do with the Catholic people. My mother was Catholic. I was raised Catholic. And all of my family that I love were all Catholic. But that does not change the fact that the corporation called Vatican is not what it is. It is what it is, and it does what it does. And it's been doing it for about 16, almost 1,700 years now.
Wow.
So you can imagine, with priests all over the world and in all countries, with the Jesuits all over the world, who are actually involved in politics and commerce and banking. The Jesuit order is involved heavily behind the scenes. Georgetown University, from which many of our presidents have come from, they all graduated from Georgetown University. Georgetown is a Jesuit university, which makes sense, of course, because it's up on the hill with the Roman Senate. You need to wake up and find out that when I hear people talking about a Jewish conspiracy and the Jews are doing this and the Jews are doing that, yes, it's true. There are some Jews that are involving themselves in dirty stuff. Well, there's a lot of Italians and a lot of Polacks and a lot of other people involved in dirty stuff too. That's what life is all about. But when it comes to world domination, Jews don't hold a candle, period. Zero. Jesuits, Vatican, that's the Holy Father. That's the Godfather. You don't think so? The classic example is just recently the Vatican notified Netanyahu and Israel that they want certain places in Israel, and the Vatican didn't ask. They told them, here's what we want. We want this property. We want that. We want this. And the papers in Israel are saying, well, for God's sakes, Netanyahu just turned over and gave it to them. Well, he better give it to them. This is the godfather of all godfathers. This is Rome. This is Tiberius Caesar, emperor of the world empire. And so when you find out that they are a sacrifice, why do you think they have something called altar boys? You're putting a boy on the altar. An altar is an altar of sacrifice. And so you have altar boys. And so the male priests are wearing long black robes. And most people have no idea in the world what a black robe represents. You need to understand that Jesuits and Catholic priests wear black robes because judges wear black robes. Because Darth Vader and Dracula wear black robes. Priests wear black robes. Judges wear black robes. Why? Because a black robe means something. It is a symbol which is accepted around the world by the secret societies and fraternal orders that you don't even know exist. And so when you break down the symbolism in the church, the black robes, the connection with the international banking cartels and Israel and what's really going on in the Middle East, that's been going on for 2,300 years under the Vatican and under Rome, it finally begins, after 50 years of looking at it, it finally begins to develop a picture. And the picture is that for thousands of years, mankind around the planet has been dominated by ancient, very ancient, powerful secret orders, religious orders coming out of the Hindus, experienced thousands of years ago, also out of Egypt. The Egyptian Empire has contributed so much to our symbolism. Then in the Grecian Empire, so the great philosophies of the world come out of Greece. And then into the military-industrial complex of Rome in America. So all I'm saying is that if you want to take time, but most people are not aware of this, and think it's foolish and nonsensical chatter to talk about such things. And I understand why. Because I've been looking at this for 50 years, while most people haven't studied it for 50 minutes.
Okay, hang on to that for a second. Jordan, I just want to tell people who we're speaking with. Folks, Jordan Maxwell tonight, www.nightfrightshow.com. Click on tonight's guest cover. That'll take you right to Jordan Maxwell's real website, jordanmaxwellshow.com. And I'm going to say that over and over again tonight. Folks, if you want to call in and ask Jordan some questions, Brent Holland Show via Skype. Brent Holland Show. And I'll put you right through to Jordan, and you can ask him any question you would like. Let's bring this, Jordan, full circle. I'd like to try and bring this full circle back to where we started, and that is September 28th, 1978, when Pope John Paul I was assassinated. He was assassinated because he was going to rock the boat. He was going to reveal what was really going to go on.
That's right. He said that. He said, if you elect me Pope, don't do it. I don't want to be Pope. And if you do that, the first official act is no, that if you do that, my first official act is I'm going to expose Propaganda Due and Opus Dei. I'm going to go after all of the secret stuff that's been going on in the Vatican for way, way too many years. I'm going to try and clean this thing up. And obviously he must have been a fairly decent man because he was smart enough to know what's going on and brave enough to say that he was going to do something about it. And so Opus Dei and Propaganda Due especially decided that this guy's gone far enough. And so when he was made Pope, they had a big dilemma on their hands. The problem is very simple. You either kill him or he's going to kill you. He's going to be your death. The death of you is going to be this man, or you're going to be his killer. So they had to get rid of him and quick. So and I think it's just interesting he died on the 32nd day of his administration. So,
it's papacy.
You know, listen, also the word Pope comes from the Latin word papa. It gives us the word papa. Well, papa is, in Latin, is a door. So Pope represents a door. He's Papa. You know, the Italians call him Papa. And why is he Papa? Well, because he's your Holy Father. And, of course, your Father is the holy door to life. He's the door to life for you. And so your Father was the door to life. And so
Jordan,
the Holy Father.
Jordan, in your opinion, was Jesus a fabrication for the Vatican in order to obtain, or was he a real person?
Well, you're asking me a subjective question because obviously there's going to be all kinds of views on this. I've only been looking at the story for 50 years, so that's why I'm happy to say that I'm not the world's foremost authority on anything. Because after 54 years of reading and studying this subject, Bible that's telling you something different if you know how to read the Bible codes, and that there were prophecies and whatever. Well, I understand that there were codes. Rabbis, especially Orthodox rabbis, will explain to you that there are many codes and the Bible. I've sat and talked with rabbis, and they said, well, that's nothing new. I mean, this newfangled thing that you guys are coming, the Gentiles are coming up with this Bible code, that's interesting. It's intellectually stimulating, interesting, but according to our understanding as Orthodox Jews going back 1,000 years, we know there are codes in there that you don't even begin to know about.
Hang on to that again, Jordan, for a second. We've got a couple of people joining us. The person that called in via telephone, you have a question for Jordan Maxwell tonight? Could you give us your first name?
Yeah, if I'm up. This is Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
You're very welcome, my friend.
Yeah, this is a great show. Jordan, I just, something's been on my mind lately. There's a book I read recently by a gentleman by the name of Gerald Clark. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Yeah. So go on.
Pardon me?
Hello?
Go ahead, Jim.
I said, go on, I'm listening.
Okay, yeah, and I guess I want to be clear because he's kind of added some things to the Zachariah Sitchin approach to things.
What was the name of the book?
It's called Anunnaki of Nibiru, and then there's like some other smaller print on it, like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go on.
And I've heard you talk about that you'd had some that you knew Zachariah Sitchin. I guess I just wanted to get clear on, because I've heard so many different opinions about him and his work, and I wanted to know, if he's. I've been trying to figure out if he's, if he was
legitimate or not.
Yeah, legitimate, because I'd read somewhere on the internet that he'd had a lot of influence from the Zionist side of things, and he had kind of, twisted things to for an agenda, and I guess I really wanted to understand that and how it ties in. I know you're talking about the Catholic side of things and stuff, but I know it all kind of ties together, and I was just thinking of that because I heard you commenting about Zachariah Sitchin before too, and how that ties into all this.
Yeah. Well, I was in business with Zachariah Sitchin. I gave him $16,000 in cash to sign a contract with me in San Diego. Him and his wife and my partners in business, and we all went out to dinner. I brought him from New York. I brought him out to San Diego. Gave him money to coach him to sign a contract. He signed it before I gave it to him, so it wasn't that he took the money then signed it. No, he signed the contract and agreed to do, be a business partner, and then as a thank you, I gave him money, and so I was in business with him. I was part of the triumvirate. There were three of us that sent Zachariah Sitchin around the world. And I sent him with camera people, lighting people.
Who was the third person, Jordan?
The other person was Paul Tice. He owns the Book Tree Publishing Company in San Diego. It's called I think it's the Book Tree bookstore, publisher, the Book Tree Publishing. And his name was Paul Tice. And Paul went with Zach around the world. I think they went to 5 countries. And the idea was that Paul and I and the lady who was in charge of the corporation that I was working with, I suggested that we I suggested first that we do a business with Zachariah Sitchin, because I really admired his work, and I knew him well, and I said, why don't we send him around the world to do his work, and we can film it all, and I wanted to do a 13 one-hour miniseries on Zachariah Sitchin, and then we would sell it to universities and colleges and around the world and libraries. We could sell Zachariah Sitchin's work in 13 one-hour video series, and Zach was very interested in that, so I brought him out from New York to San Diego. We had dinner, a whole bunch of us around the table, and then I presented him with my idea, and he agreed. So we shook hands on it, and then I gave him an envelope of 16 grand. And he said, "What's this for?" And I said, "Just to show that I'm serious about what I want to do, and I want to thank you and help you with your work." So we signed the contract the next day, and we sent him to, I think, 5 countries. Turkey was one, and Egypt was one, I think. Don't recall, it's been a while back, but Paul Tice went with him, and a couple of other my friends, of, camera people and lighting people, etc. And so I know Zechariah, and I used to sit and talk with him for hours because I was in business with him. And I had an extraordinary conversation with him one time. I used to meet him in Las Vegas and have dinner with him and his wife, and different places where he'd be appearing. I got him to speak at conferences. A lot of the different conferences he spoke at, well, I got him those speaking engagements. So I know him well. I know Zechariah. I loved him as a wonderful friend. When I hear people talking about, that maybe he had connection to Zion, and I don't know. I wasn't married to him. I don't know. But I have a high respect for him. I just admired him so much that I wanted to spend money on him and promote his work. But he did tell me some things in private that were pretty much startling to me. I thought I knew him till that time, but he told me some interesting and profound things in private at a dinner one night in Portland, Oregon. And basically, and I'm not going to get into it, but basically I became aware that Zechariah was far, far, far more knowledgeable on this whole subject he was writing about than what he wrote. He far, far knew much more about what was going on, than what's in his books. And basically that's what you need to know, is that Zechariah Sitchin was not only, from my viewpoint, legitimate, but this guy has information no one's still going to ever hear.
Can you not share some of that with us tonight, Jordan? Even just one aspect of it? Okay.
No, I don't think so, because it would impact the view that the world has of him one way or the other, and I don't want to do that.
Was he
authentic? All I would say is that he was far more knowledgeable about Anunnaki and far more knowledgeable about world events that were coming, UFOs, alien life forms, all of that, nowhere near what he has written in his books. So I've asked him about that. So
does the Vatican fear UFOs and ETs coming?
I would think probably yes. That would be my hunch.
That might be the end of the reign?
Yeah, because that's what I'm kind of thinking. Because they know, they don't guess or hope. They know that there's extraterrestrial life, and I know why they know that. It's because they've been involved in connection with it. There's no doubt in my mind, if you go back and look at the whole superstructure of the Catholic religion, with all of its symbols, priesthoods, its emblems of power, go back into history and trace all of their emblems of symbols of the robes they had dressed, the terms, and all the accoutrements of the religion can all be traced back to Phoenicia, Cana, and especially Hindu. Enormous amount of Hinduism in the Catholic Church, but it's so well hidden that you don't see it. But scholars in the field of comparative religions see it instantly. All the Hindu, and of course Hinduism not only is the basis for the Vatican and for the Christian Vatican, Christian religion, Christian period. The Christian religion period is heavily influenced by Hinduism. But not only that, Judaism is extremely affected by Hinduism. Hinduism dominates both Judaism and Christianity, and a lot of Islam also has Hinduism in it. However, the churches and the synagogues have not told the people about this hidden connection between the Jews, the Catholics, and the Hindus.
That's new on me.
Oh, it's an incredible story, because I'm telling you, when you begin to see it, you say, I've sat with experts and theologians and Jesuit theologians, and sat with them, and they explained to me, yes, here it is. Here's why we in the Catholic Church teach this. Here's why the Jesuits use this symbol, that symbol. It comes from the Hindu. So therefore, you can trace most of the Western religions, all three religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, back to Hinduism. But that is a very chosen secret. That's on a need-to-know basis, and most people don't need to know.
Ultimately, Jordan, is there a deity, an ultimate deity, that you would say?
I am totally convinced, yes. There is. I have the highest respect and admiration and respectful fear of God. I have no problem with believing in God. All I would say is what Dr. Stu Crane told me back in 1960. Professor Stu Crane said,
yes, sir.
Define your terms. Because when you use a word, other people may know that word in a different way. And so I have the highest regard and respect for God and for the presence, the way I explain it, as a divine presence that is in the universe, that is basically in control of all life. So that's my idea of God. It's not Jehovah. It's not Jesus.
Understood.
It is a divine spiritual power in the universe, which, you have a finite mind, and you talk about infinite concepts. So I don't believe we humans, as one great teacher said, if you can explain something about God that everybody in the audience can understand, then that would prove conclusively that you don't know anything. Because any God that your pea-sized, ignorant, ill-informed, and unread brain can understand is not the concept of the divine presence in the whole universe. You don't have a brain big enough to understand, like the astronomers said, that famous astronomer's quote, the universe is not only stranger than you imagine, it's stranger than you can imagine. And so any human who wants to use their mind to understand the universe, you better go back and do your homework. You don't even begin to know how big the universe really is.
Jordan, we've only got 30 seconds left. Would you like to stay around for the second part of the hour?
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Folks, Jordan Maxwell. If you want to join in the conversation, Brent Holland Show. In the second hour, we've got Kasey Ferguson coming on. He's a local Kingstonian. We're going to be talking about paranormal experiences, and he has his own podcast, and it's a terrific podcast. So that's in our part 2, and Jordan is going to stick around. So once again, Brent Holland Show. If you have questions for Jordan, hold them for 6 minutes. We'll be back in 6 minutes because I know that music's going to play at any second.
So I hope your next guest will not mind me being on with him.
Yeah.
I don't think so at all.
May I interrupt?
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Go ahead.
I think the music's going to play, so it has to be really quick.
Yeah,
there's the music. Save it for after, guys, and we'll come right back. Brava. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Night Fright. And cut the music off because we've got a lot to cover and a short period of time to do it in. Folks, welcome to Night Fright. Our guest tonight, Jordan Maxwell. He's sticking around. He's being a super trooper. He's going to stick around to the end of the show, just an hour away. And Kasey Ferguson is joining us now. But just before I do that, folks, www.nightfrightshow.com. Both guests will have information there, links to their sites, individual sites, and don't forget, Jordan Maxwell's site is jordanmaxwellshow.com. www.jordanmaxwellshow.com. Don't be fooled and go to the other one. And I'm not even going to give that URL out because people might just get confused. But I almost said horror, etc. Isn't that funny? They were on last week. That's because they just popped up on Skype. Also, folks, www.nightfrightshow.com. Make sure you go there to get the real deal, the real information on where Jordan's website is. I want to welcome Kasey to this show. Kasey Ferguson has a podcast here in the same city I live in, Kingston, Ontario. Now, folks, just to give you a little bit of a geographical location, we're an hour and a half north of Syracuse, right where Lake Ontario turns into the St. Lawrence River. You're going to find Kingston, Ontario there. Now, to give an analogy, Kingston, Ontario is where we train our troops to be generals, to be commanders in our military. So think of it as Annapolis combined with West Point. And we also have one of Canada's Ivy League, what I call Ivy League universities here, called Queen's University. So it is a cosmopolitan city without question, and Kasey brings a lot to this city with his podcast. Kasey, welcome to the show, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, what's going on, amigo?
Hey, we're rocking tonight, my friend. Jordan Maxwell's here. How great is that?
Killer.
It's great. Tell us a little bit about your podcast, buddy.
Well, we're billing it as part talk show, part rock show. So not only do you get the interviews and whatnot with well-known musicians, local musicians, authors, comedians, actors, things like that, but you also get some of the best up-and-coming bands from around the world. I've had acts that I've played on the show from Australia and all kinds of bands from the States and North America and everything. But a lot of people are describing it to me as The Hour meets Howard Stern with music.
That's pretty cool, buddy.
Yeah.
Who are some of the folks you've had on the show? Because I know you've had some amazing, amazing folks, musical guests on the show.
Well, one of the ones I was really happy with was John Corabi, the former lead singer of Motley Crue, was on.
Now, how was that,
a couple episodes. Oh man, it was so much fun. He was. I was only supposed to get like 20 minutes with him, and what seems to be happening, I consider myself very fortunate that people have been having a really good time on this show. I try to ask questions that they don't get all the time and this and that, so they've stayed on and talked to me. He stayed on for almost an hour. There's a lot of people have been on that have been a lot of fun. Mitch Markowitz from the hilarious House of Frightenstein, if you remember that TV show growing up, which also starred Vincent Price, he was on the show. On the new episode coming out in probably about a week or two, I have George Lynch, the legendary guitar player from Lynch Mob and Doc, on the show. Reb Beach, who's the guitar player from Whitesnake and Winger, was on the show and was really funny, and we had a blast. Bill Welichka, our good friend from CKWF and the longest-running VJ in Much Music history, he was on the last episode. Delana from Rockstar Supernova was on. A lot of great people.
Much Music, folks, is our version of MTV. There you go. And Bill Welichka is the longest-running VJ that hosted the show. So he's a bit of a legend here in Canada, to put it mildly, and he lives in Kingston as well, and he now hosts a show called Live at 5, which reaches out to the local Kingston community, and he's been kind enough to have me on several times, and also Kasey. He was upscaling and invited Kasey to come on the show instead of me, so there you go.
I think he downgraded a little bit, Brent. Tell you what, I'm gonna have a shot of Jack here for dear old Bill. Bill's a Jack drinker as well, so this one's for you, Bill.
Now, Kasey, what got you interested in the paranormal? Because I know you're a big music guy like I am. I play drums, I play all the instruments, I compose music, blah 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 blah. But the paranormal, what got you interested in the paranormal?
Well, I think I'm a big horror fan, so I think a lot of my interest in kind of strange things stems from that. And I'm just kind of a weird kid.
Well, you can't be that weird if you've got Jack there. Now, we're not talking Jack the Ripper either, folks.
Give me a couple of drinks and we'll find out.
Oh, God. And don't forget the Maximum Penitentiary is just down the street, folks. And that used to house what I called the Canadian Hall of Fame. And Canadian Hall of Fame, of course, were serial killers. Many people in the States have heard of the Barbie killers. Well, the male part of that, Paul Bernardo, was housed there. We had a very unfortunate fellow by the name of Russell Williams. He was housed there as well.
May I interrupt, Brent? Hello.
Hello, how are you? This is Angela,
fine.
folks, all the way from Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, Angela Black, thank you very much for having me. I just wanted to say, wow, so you're telling me that this Canadian house of what? Because all I know is that Canadians are so polite. So, what?
Sorry.
Sorry. Anyway, so what's this place called? The Canadian what?
It's called the Kingston Penitentiary.
Okay.
And it is Canada's oldest penitentiary. They just shut it down this year.
And it's a house of killers?
It is. It actually, very, very interesting story behind it. It actually, because Canadians aren't so much with the death penalty anymore since 1974, it never actually killed anybody. Nobody was ever put to death at this penitentiary. However, you think of Bundy, you think of Gain, you think of all the wackadoodles in one place. That's what we had here, right in Kingston. And it was terrifying. I mean, you'd go by it, and it was like, the Munsters house with a big cloud over it. And you could just feel the bad vibe coming from there. There was something seriously wrong with this place. Would you attest to that, Kasey?
Oh, absolutely. The old Steel Bar Hotel.
Jeez, what a way to put it.
Yeah, I'd say bring back the death penalty because I think some of the cats that were in there could probably use it. But that's just my opinion.
No, I understand that full well, and it's something I wrestled with too because some of the horrendous and just god-awful crimes that these guys committed, certainly they don't deserve to be breathing the same air as we do. That's for sure. Kasey, any personal paranormal experiences, my friend?
Well, I do a lot of drinking, and so I would say a lot of situations that I would consider paranormal or abnormal, have gone on, but chances are it was just the alcohol or the mushrooms or something that I got into. Yeah.
Oh man, are you still? Hopefully, you're not still doing that stuff.
No, I try to stay away from all that stuff now. I get too old for that garbage.
Good. Now, a lot of people I run into here in Kingston always, they see me on television and stuff, and they say, "Oh, we got this ghost story for you, and you do this stuff." But the second I get them to want to come on air and tell their true stories, they back away. Is that something similar that you've run into as well with your show?
I've been pretty lucky as far as the actual guests I've had on have been really candid. I managed to get, and people will hear this again on the new episode that's coming out in a couple weeks, George Lynch admitted to me that he had gotten the guitar position with Ozzy, and they offered him $200 a week to play with them. I mean, you can imagine the logistics of that.
Yeah.
And I would say the guests have been pretty good that way. But I have noticed when it comes to Facebook now and trying to, engage my audience and have them answer some questions online or send in questions even for me, because I did an Ask Kasey segment on the last show, and this and that. A lot of people seem to be pulling punches, and I don't know if they just don't want the stuff that public or what the deal is. Then you go on their statuses and they're just posting all this stuff that you wonder why anyone would ever post it on Facebook. So
yeah, I hear you.
God only knows, man.
Have you ever posted?
May I ask what you mean? So they're posting stuff. God only knows what they're posting. So are you saying that they're posting it falsely? What are they posting that is different than the truth? What is that?
Well, not different than the truth. I just mean, they'll post that like, hey, I'm going to go pick up my welfare check or something, but they won't post, a story that,
right.
Or a question.
Yeah, they'll go on the list. Yeah, they'll go on a list, you know what I mean? And I think that's their fear. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's fine, Angela.
I'm sorry. See, I'm polite too.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I was going to ask, that's okay. Have you ever posed any of these questions to the guitar monsters that you've had on your show?
Have I posed any for the paranormal stuff?
Yeah, because, I mean, these guys travel around all over the place in hotels, and the hotels are notorious for having paranormal stories.
Well, and given some of the drugs that I guess some of these guys have done, probably the same thing as myself. It's, I would imagine there's probably a lot more of it going on than they're talking about. But no, we haven't really delved into that too much. We spend a lot of time telling road stories and stuff like that. But maybe in the future, somebody to test that.
Is there any road story in particular that stands out one above the other?
For the guests, again, I'm so excited about this new episode, but Red Beach told me a really great one, and it's going to be a tough one to tell because I'm so used to being on my show. I'm trying to bite my tongue and not cuss like a sailor here, but he told me a story. He was playing with this band at a Pittsburgh Rib Fest, and this wasn't Winger or Whitesnake or Alice Cooper or Doc and any of these big bands that he played in. It must have been a side project of some kind. He didn't tell me, but he said that his singer was somewhat excitable, and they were opening up for Eddie Money at the show. It was a really big family thing, and his amp blew up like 2 songs in, so he tells the singer to talk to the crowd, and he goes over to his amp to try to fix it. And the singer puts his foot up on the monitor, and he did an impersonation of the guy, just a total, like just one of those, are you ready to rock? Like one of these guys. And he just comes out with 2 of the most obscene lines that someone could put out there at a family rib fest. So I don't want to ruin it for everybody. They'll have to tune in to the show to hear the full story because I don't want to start cussing like a sailor on the show, and I don't know how else to word what he said.
Okay, no problem. And folks, we are going to put Kasey's link on the www.nightfrightshow.com website. Anybody wants to speak to Kasey, or Jordan Maxwell is still with us, Brent Holland Show, just Skype me, and I'll drag you into the conversation. That's just the term that's used with Skype. Obviously, you will not physically be dragged in or do anything you don't want to do. But I will put you through to either guest, and you can ask some questions. I'm going to go back to Jordan for a second. Jordan, prior to coming on air, you had said that you had experienced some creepy paranormal experiences.
Well, my whole life has been a creepy paranormal experience. Since I was 8 years old, seeing strange entities in my bedroom, and baby dinosaurs and pterodactyls and all kinds of stuff. But I don't care what other people believe or think about what I say. I'm just telling you what I saw. So my whole life has been a paranormal experience. Some of the experiences are so wild that I don't even bother to tell because people are not going to believe it anyway.
Not on this show. Not on this show, Jordan. If you want to talk about them, that's no problem, my friend.
I'm just having a lot of very powerful experiences in my life, continual. Since I was very, very small, like 7, 8 years old, I was seeing things. And probably one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had was I was in Los Angeles, up in the Alps, the outskirts of the city, up in the mountains, and I was staying a long weekend with a friend of mine who had a triple-decker home up in the mountains. And so I had a young friend of mine from Las Vegas come over to stay with me. We were going up to stay at this house. And so middle of the night, my friend and I decided we wanted to go up on the roof and sit and overlook the San Fernando Valley. It's a beautiful sight from up in the mountains to see Los Angeles. So we went up on the roof about 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're sitting up there talking and chit-chatting and observing the Los Angeles. And for some reason, I looked up in the sky and I said, Almighty God, if you can hear me, would you let a meteorite hit this mountain? And I pointed at the mountain. And the moment I said that, a huge meteor shot out of the sky and hit that mountain right where my hand was pointing.
Oh,
and
my God.
It woke everybody up. Lights went off all over the mountainside. People woke up, and it was really a scary experience because, you know, we were right there. We were sitting right there, and I pointed at the mountain, and I said, "If you can hear me, God, let a meteor hit this mountain," and it did. At that very moment where where I was pointing.
Oh, hang on, Noreen, please. Noreen, we've got some really bad connection there, my friend. Can you turn your microphone off? Noreen? Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to let you go, sweetie. Sorry.
Sounds like she's got a jetpack on.
Yeah, sorry, Jordan, my friend. Did you finish your story?
Okay.
The Rocketeer.
So, so that was pretty, my friend sitting next to me said, "What did you just do?" And I said, "I don't know why I said that, and I don't know why I did that. I just did it." And so this is the kind of thing that happened to me all the time. I'm talking about extraordinary, other world experiences like that.
Jordan, do you feel this is a gift from God, or do you feel perhaps it might be a curse, or perhaps a bit of both?
No, I don't know. I really don't know. I think, well, I'm just giving you my opinion. But
that's fine, speculation.
It seems to tell me, from what I get out of it, that I do have some kind of a other-world connection to divine. I don't know what it is. I'm not jumping around on the stage and blowing people over with spitting on and falling all over the stage and acting like a fool. I very quietly respect the divine presence in the universe that men have called God. I respect that. But the mere fact that I have had so many experiences like that, that I believe, I'm led to believe that there is some sort of a legitimate connection that I have to the other world. And I don't know exactly what that means, if it's good or bad.
But much respect, Jordan Maxwell, for sharing all those experiences.
Yes.
One of the first moments I came into truth was listening to one of your podcasts on YouTube, and I have to tell you that I've been dragged into the truth ever since. And much respect to you for sharing those experiences and being bold enough to continue that process.
Well, thank you, and I'll tell you, it has certainly cost me terrible. I now know why people who have experiences, especially airline pilots, etc., who do not speak out. I now know why. I always trusted that I'm talking to my fellow man. I want to be honest and forthright and tell them the truth. I'm old school. I'm 74 years old. I'm not interested in building a big career. I'm just trying to be honest with people and tell them what's happened to me. And because of that, I have been ridiculed and libeled and called every name in the book and mocked and laughed at and chided. So I understand now why people who have legitimately important experiences don't tell anybody. Because like Jesus said, don't give pearls to swine. Because if you tell people, generally telling the audience, important, significant spiritual experiences, they're going to turn around and use it on you and choke you with it. They're going to destroy you with it and mock you and laugh at you and call you every name in the book. And ultimately, because of the technology we have today, like the web, all over the world, they will spread their lies and laugh at you and mock you. And before you know it, you'll be the laughing stock of the world for something that actually happened and that you trusted your fellow man to give it to them. And so I paid a terrible price for being who I am and doing what I do and talking freely and talking truthfully. I paid a terrible price.
Kasey, have you experienced anything similar to that in your life, being ostracized for who you are and what you believe?
Well, I'm a musician in Kingston all the time.
All the time. What are some of the story? Is there something in specific that's really bothered you?
Well, just playing shows over the years. I'm a long-haired guy, and I guess part of the look has been the cake on the guy liner and stuff here and there, and the ripped up jeans and the kind of biker clothes and this and that. And I've had a couple situations, playing shows where people heckle and make comments or try to start fights and all kinds of stupid crap like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess, certainly not a paranormal experience, but it's still very strange to think that in this day and age that stuff still goes on.
Yeah, it's very hurtful, bullying, things like that. If you were to talk with, there must be some students listening right now or people of that age, if you will, what would you say to them?
Say to the students?
Yeah, if they're experiencing something
quit
similar.
puking in the streets, so I stop stepping in it when I go to get some food late at night.
Okay. Angela, let's get back to some music influences and stuff. I want to bring Kasey in and Jordan. Jordan, did you have any particular band or group that you gravitated towards growing up?
You're talking
Queen.
to me?
Jordan?
Yes, I kind of like Creedence Clearwater.
Yeah, CCR. Right on.
Yeah,
Right on.
I kind of like them. Not everything they did, but some of their stuff was inspired. Some of them, I would say about 1/10 of what they did I liked. But that was about it. I really wasn't much into popular music. But there were some things that Creedence did that I think was absolutely inspired, sensational stuff.
Title of a song in particular?
Now,
Okay.
might
Sure.
tell you something about me.
Not at all. I don't think so. And so what? So what? It's all about individualism. How about you, Angela?
Queen all the way.
Queen.
Straight up.
Particular-
Queen.
Particular
I
tune?
absolutely. The reason I became a singer was because of Freddie Mercury, and I just absolutely loved all of their music, especially the early years and the mid years. They changed a little bit, but the Freddie Mercury situation for me was always just incredible. The storytelling that he put into music, etc., was and of course the band was just amazing, and they were so ahead of their time. So I every time I will go with the Queen answer. It's Queen all the way.
And Kasey?
First of all, I want to say your guests have good taste in music. And for me, it was Guns N' Roses. Appetite for Destruction is everything I could hope a rock album could be.
Wow. Wow.
There you go. Yeah. For me, it was the Who guys.
Amen.
I come from
Who?
the Keith Moon School of Drumming. I play lead drums. People say they play lead guitar. I play lead drums. That's all I have to say. www.nightfrightshow. Folks, tonight you are having a good time, I am sure, listening to our guests. Jordan Maxwell's with us. We've got Kasey Ferguson from the Kasey Ferguson Show here in Kingston. And also Angela Black is joining us, and she has her own show right on Revolution Radio every day.
Almost every day.
Almost every day. Go ahead, plug
Yes.
your show, dear.
It's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So that would be a couple of hours earlier from now. Basically, I'm on Studio B, and I cover the news. But lately, it's become a conversation show, which is very exciting. I'm thrilled to have conversations. Today, we were talking about the American caste system as well as the Indian caste system, and it was very interesting conversation. And then also James Wright joined us afterwards. He's got a lot going on as well. So it's become a conversation show. It's only 1 hour, and I'm going to go ahead and lure your guests to eventually join me on my own show.
That's fine, Angela. I don't mind. That's
And,
your fellow
Brent,
host.
I'm very, very pleased with our friendship. My husband was the one who originally, contacted you because of JFK, I believe. Is that correct?
That's
You
right. Yeah.
Yes, and you're such a great host, etc. And I've seen some of the correspondence that people appreciate you so much for your wide variety of guests and your very calm nature, unlike my own.
You're very kind, Angela. Thank you so much.
So wonderful. And Jordan Maxwell, great to have you. And Keith, is it Keith?
Kasey.
Kasey. I'm sorry, Kasey. What is your last name?
Ferguson.
Ferguson. Well, anyway, what an interesting mix you have today, Brent.
It's pretty eclectic, this show. I mean, it's Night Fright, baby. We go anywhere and everywhere. Nothing is off topic. We'll cover civil rights, and we'll cover alien moon bases. It's all about I'll tell you what Night Fright Show is in my philosophy. Creating ideas, thinking outside the box, as long as it doesn't slide into hate speech, and I won't promote that in any sense, folks. Everything is available here on this show to be discussed and thought about, because if we don't think outside of ourselves and move forward, society is going to crumble. And it's funny you mentioned the caste system in America. I was discussing this very thing today, earlier on when I was sitting on my duff in Starbucks. The distance between those who have and who have not is becoming almost unachievable for the lower, not the lower classes, that's not what I meant to say, for the poorer classes. I'm going to go to Jordan here and ask him that question. Jordan, do you feel much the same way, that the middle class is all but a dinosaur?
Well, I did say something about we are we're connected to Hinduism, didn't I?
Yes, sir.
And that's where it started, Brahmanism. The people were the untouchables. And so our religious and political establishments in the Western world based on Hinduism. And so is our religions. I mean, you take Brahma and put an A in front of it, it comes Abram. And then in the Bible, Abram, his name was changed to Abraham.
Yeah.
So it's Abram, Abrahma. And his wife was Sarah. No, there's a river that was holy to the Brahmins. It's called Saraswati River.
Wow.
And so you have Abram, Abraham, and Sarah. Saraswati River. And so, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, as I said, is directly connected to Hinduism. A lot of interesting stuff that people just don't know. And it's a world of confusion.
It is. It can be.
Hurt? Does your brain hurt, Jordan?
It did for many years. But after a while, I get used to it now, and so I can sit and talk about and read and converse with other people on dark subjects, which I will, I'm not bragging, I'm just stating a fact. It's extraordinarily dark stuff, how far back it really goes and what these symbols really mean. And the bottom line, as far as I'm concerned, on almost all religions in the world is sex. And the words in Judaism based on sex, the words and concepts in Christianity based on sex. That's a whole subject in itself.
Can you give us a couple of quick examples from Judaism and Christianity?
Oh God, yeah. In Christianity, you talk about Jesus Christ, but so many people use the word Christ and have no idea in the world where the word Christ comes from and what it actually means. And in Judaism, you talk about in Judaism and Christianity, that I don't even have all that stuff in front of me. I would love to do a show on that when I'm prepared for it.
We'll have you back for sure. I know there's a wonderful Hebrew prayer that's misinterpreted all the time, and I'll give you the English version, folks. Essentially, it goes like this. Woman is the most wonderful, that's not quite how it's translated, but the most exquisite person that God has ever created. Thank you, God, for making me a man. Now, many people will look at that and think that he's being very sexist by saying this, a rabbi. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that woman is elevated closer to God, and he's just blessed to be in her presence. It's kind of romantic in that sense. We've got another caller just calling in. You can hear them. Hello there, caller. What's your name?
My name is Practical Madman. How are you doing tonight, bro?
Hi, Patrick. Fine. How are you? Thanks for calling in. Do you have a question for us?
Yes, I've got a big question for Jordan. I'm a big fan of Jordan's, been following him for years, and I've been working on a book, and I actually quoted Jordan in the book a couple of times. I'm really grateful for all the work he's given so freely over all the years. But I had a theory that the Roman Empire never actually fell. It only went underground. And everything he's talking about, how all the different religions are the Roman Empire was famous for taking other people's work and bastardizing them, Romanizing them. And
Right.
I think Rome never fell. It went underground.
I totally agree with you. It just mutated. It mutated into something that's still here. Identical, everything's identical. It's still here, and you're exactly right.
Yeah,
Jordan,
they just Romanized everything. That's all Rome. Rome never invented a thing. They just took other people's stuff and kind of twisted it a little bit and called it Roman.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, are we at the point right now where the Vatican will morph into something else? I mean,
it has to.
It has to. Because of the pedophilia that's just ravaging the church.
Well, yeah.
It's been going on for a long time, by the way, folks. Right here in Canada, our First Nations were just almost decimated because of the pedophilia that was going on, caused by the priests that were teaching them. So do you think it'll morph to something else then? Any idea what?
Well, of course, they have to. They always have. I mean, like the caller just mentioned, it's called the Roman Empire. Well, today we call it American and Vatican and use those terms. No, it's still Rome. It's still the ancient Roman Empire. All the words are the same. All the concepts, the legal and lawful and the theological concepts, words, symbols, all of it is identical to the Roman Empire. So it's like folding a company on one end of town, going out of business, and 3 weeks later you open up in another close by city all over again. You're still the same people, still doing the same thing, but you out of business in one place and reestablished in another. So that's what happened. Rome.
That's a big relocation, though, man. That's a big relocation. The Vatican.
Well, these people have had a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of time and money behind them. They've got a lot of powerful people behind the scenes working, secret societies, mafia, local nostra, and so it takes time, but it's happening, and it's continuing to evolve and mutate into something new. They're going to have to change the symbol, for the Catholic Church. Eventually, they're going to have to take the symbol of the man on the cross and take that off eventually, because they were founded, the Catholic Church was founded in the age of Pisces, the Pisces of two fish. But soon, in the next 400 years, we're going to have something called the Age of Aquarius, where the symbol will be a man with a water pitcher. We won't see it, but there will come a day, I will guarantee you, there will come a day in the future, maybe 300 years from now, where it will begin to be a man with a water pitcher will be the symbol for the great world religion. And it will be the same old stuff, different day. And because Christianity is Piscean, that's a whole thing too. When you get into the sexual and astrological foundations of modern day religions.
Let me throw this out to everybody online right now. In the first half of the show, I had asked Jordan if indeed there was a deity that was above all others, or if the Catholic Church had created Jesus in order to maintain power. Jordan answered positively that there is a deity above all others. In his own belief, in his own speculation, we have to absolutely respect that. And I believe there is too. At the same token, I'm going to pose this to Jordan first, then I'd like everybody online to respond to it. Is there evil? Is there a devil? Jordan?
Well, first of all, the very word devil is simply in English putting the letter D in front of the word evil. So therefore, we're just talking words.
Okay. Is there something with horns and hooven feet, for example?
No, I think that is taken from Poseidon. Poseidon with his trident becomes the devil with a pitchfork. With the study of comparative religions, we know that so many symbols and emblems in the ancient world were reestablished in the Christian and Judaic world. And so I don't believe that there is a devil as such, the way it is expressed in Catholicism and in the Christian religion. However, having said that, there is no doubt in my mind that there is a pinnacle or a a pinnacle of evil that is dominating our earth. And the higher up you go and begin to dissect the power structure, the religious power structures, and the financial, it keeps going up higher and higher. And the higher you go, like Michael Corleone said in Godfather 3, he said to his sister, I've always believed that the higher up you go in the world, the more correct and lawful you have to be. But now I know that it's just the opposite. The higher up you go in this world, the more corrupt and evil it really, in fact, is. And so that's exactly right. As far as I'm concerned, the higher up you go in your research of the etymology of words and terms and symbols and tracing the history of great institutions like the Vatican and religion in general, Christianity in particular, you begin to see this is a very evil situation. Somebody at the very top is running this whole dark black project.
Okay, I want to go to Kasey next. Okay, go ahead.
One other thing. By their fruits you shall know them.
Yes.
What is the fruitage of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam today on the earth? By their fruits you will know them. Wars, violence, drug addiction, corruption, evil, Illuminati, child sacrifice, it's criminality everywhere. By their fruits you shall know them. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that.
Kasey,
how do you... Hang on, just let me go to Kasey for a second, Angela. Kasey, how do you feel about the devil? Does he actually exist, or is it just a fabrication that we like to throw things at?
Well, I got to agree with Jordan on this. I think that came from Poseidon, the whole trident thing, and this and that. I mean, I don't think there's a devil. I certainly, believe in evil, and when it comes to religion, with the rich you'll find religion, with the poor you'll find spirituality. So, I think I can probably leave it at that.
Very good way to put it. Angela.
Yes, I was just thinking that was just so heavy. And I was also thinking about the fact that, with it, unless you are at the top, I mean, and even if you are at the top of whatever that thing that you were describing is, Jordan, don't you all, maybe you feel, what I feel, is that you're also a slave. At the same time, you're a slave to that power. You're a slave to that power. And not, because I look at, even, to go trite, I will talk about pop stars for a quick second, and watching these people rise to fame, etc. And the nonverbal agreements that they quote unquote sign and this type of thing. And I look at the message, and I look at the the sacrifice that does go into such, and I say to myself that if you're in power on that level, you're also a slave to that exact same thing. And so there's very few, I think, that are at the very top, and I think they're slaves as well, interestingly. So I don't know what your comment is on that, but you brought into my brain right now, and I don't know what to say. That was my comment.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Absolutely.
Let's ask Patrick. Patrick, how do you feel, my friend?
Okay. Well, I'm the practical madman. You misunderstood me before, but I agree with Jordan 100%. It goes totally in line with my theory. I believe that Rome was actually stolen by the Vatican. When Constantine created the Catholic Church, he gave these high priests the power of anonymity and power equal to his own, and they stole everything that was not nailed down, and they created the devil to distract from them, to have somebody else for us to blame, to have something for us to fear. In order for them to have power, we need to be afraid. So they needed to create something for us to fear. And just like Jordan said, it's Poseidon. They did the traditional Roman trick. They took existing ideas and twisted them around for their own use. And I agree with Jordan 100%.
How does it take things to be at their worst for people to do their best. And I'm thinking of the Holocaust, when things were just so horrible, people doing things to people that should never even be thought about or entertained. And yet we see time and time again people rise to that occasion, and they put their own lives at risk for others. Is that some kind of crazy balance that the universe has to be in? Jordan?
Well, I suppose so. There's, I guess there is a balance, because everything is balanced in point of fact, black and white, up and down, wet and dry, big and little, etc., etc. So, yeah, I think so, and hope springs eternal. But that's another subject that I don't like particularly talking about and giving my view on, because when I hear people saying, well, people are waking up now, they're beginning to wake up, and I say, yes, they're waking up just like prisoners do in a concentration camp. Every morning they wake up, but they're still in the camp. And so, yeah, people are waking up today, and well, there must be a light at the end of the tunnel. And I say, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a train coming, because people are waking up, but it's a little late. I would say it's about 200 years late. People should have awoken a long time ago, back before 1871. You should have awakened in 1760s, 1840s especially, when the Illuminati moved into America and started ripping off and raping and destroying this great republic at its very earliest date, and then eventually the Civil War, which hundreds of thousands of Americans killed each other. So, yeah, I see people waking up today, but I will tell you what I believe. I don't believe the American people and people in general are waking up anywhere near to the real truth. The real, incredible, off-the-wall facts of life are so startling that even the people who are waking up today have no idea in the world how bad off this world really is. It's only until you start looking at the occult symbols, the dark connections with money and commerce and religion, and understand the religious connection to banking, and the bank's connections to insurance companies to the great financial empires of the world, and understand it's been around for thousands of years and it's not getting any better. And the masters of this planet today are polluting, destroying, and raping the whole human race. It's very serious. So, yeah, we're waking up. A lot of people are waking up. But I think it's, I hate to say it, but I'm just being practical. I think we are in far more serious trouble than you even begin to imagine.
Kasey, how do you feel? Do you feel the universe is in balance, or are we whacked out of balance?
Oh, I'd definitely say we're whacked out. I mean, really, it all comes down to unity, and unfortunately, yeah, that does seem to come out more when something really, really bad's going on, and that's sad. But I mean, everything would be different if people would unite. There's strength in numbers, and I mean that could be said about the music business. That could be said about government structure. If everybody would get together and say, hey, we're not going to play for free as far as music goes, then it would have to change, because all these bars would go under. But you can't. If you had 12 musicians in a room, they couldn't agree what to order for lunch, let alone how to implement that system. But yeah, I think it really comes down to unity there, and there needs to be more of it. Yeah.
Very nicely put. How about you, Angela? How do you feel? Angela?
I'm taking it all in right now. Seriously, like I don't really have a lot of commentary. I'm just thrilled to be on this conversation. So.
Well, let me throw this comment in.
Sure, please.
I believe that the American people and people generally around the world have no power to do anything, period. End of sentence. People of all countries, especially America, have no power to do anything. You can elect your presidents, but you cannot select your president. And so I believe that people have no power because knowledge is power. And people have no comprehension whatsoever of what's really going on, how banks really work, how governments actually work.
I do have a quick comment.
Sure, please go ahead, Angela.
Okay, so I had this opportunity to take an insurance class and learn that thing, and and sell insurance, because I've got a good friend who does that, and she does very well for herself, etc. But I just kept not doing the class. I mean, I just kept not going there because I felt icky. I felt icky every single time, and I have to tell you, I'm not. I just you're talking about the immense exponential level of evil, if you will, on the planet, et cetera, and insurance companies, banking, this type of thing, the entire process of what we're talking about. And that's just a small portion, what you just mentioned, Jordan, and everyone that's on this call. But I have to tell you, I decided that I'm not ever going to jump into that thing. I'd rather be broke and quote unquote happy than sell insurance, and God bless people who sell insurance, whatever that is. Good for you. Make money, make more than me, that type of thing. But I have to tell you, I just can't jump in. I've still got 2 months left to decide to go ahead and do that. But it's very interesting you brought that up. So that was just my comment, was that I cannot jump in. I will not jump in. So that's all. Just an odd thought.
I see the world in general, the whole entire world of mankind, like the ritual in Eyes Wide Shut. That's my view of the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting. Wow. Practical Madman, how do you feel? Is the world in balance? Are we at a whack?
No, I agree with Jordan 100%. People perish for lack of knowledge, Knowledge has been so buried. That's one thing I love about Jordan's work he's done over the years, is his revelation of the words, and how the words really tell you the truth if you listen to what they're saying. And the words are where it's all at. I got into studying the trivium, and the trivium is logic, grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And you start analyzing history using the grammar, logic, and rhetoric, and you start looking up the etymological roots of the words, and start putting it all together. And that's the only way we're going to get this whole planet together, is we have to start defining our terms and start agreeing and start working in the positive direction. As long as the knowledge is scattered and buried, there's not a hope.
And you're right. And let me give you a classic example of how deeply embedded occultism is in our commercial world. The little icon that you always write when you're talking about money. Before the amount of money, you put a little icon that looks like an I going through an S. You know what I'm talking about?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
ISIS.
The I and the S, but it goes back to, and of course today there's two I's going through an S, and there's a reason why that changed, but originally it was like an I through an S, and it goes back to insurance script. IS is insurance script. It goes back to a 16th century, to a man named Tontine, Tontine, Tontine.
Sounds like tongue-tied.
Yeah.
Almost.
And so it's part of a worldwide apparatus that was set up in motion by the Knights Templars back in the 19th, 11th century. Tontine comes into the picture with Tontine insurance script, IS. Your money is connected to a dark, secret manipulation of the human mind with uses of symbols and emblems. We call it money. Money goes back to the word. Goes back to a goddess in Rome, Juno Moneta. Juno Moneta was a goddess who was on Capitol Hill, and that Caesar had to go in and sprinkle incense on the altar of Juno Moneta, from which we get the word money, which is exactly why the Federal Reserve is called the temple. And so you need to understand our money system, our political system. All of it is ancient occult mystery religion. And it's been with us for thousands of years, and there's no possible way the American people or people in general are going to extricate themselves from this system. They just don't have it. You don't get it. The people don't get it. This is bigger than you think it is. I've been studying it for over 50 years. I'm telling you, the system that we are living under on this earth is far, far more deeper and far more frightening and fearful than you can even begin to imagine. That's why I don't really see a whole lot for the future, because knowledge is power. And people have no knowledge. They have no idea in the world how deep this stuff really goes.
Jordan, we've only got a few minutes left, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. We've got Angela, who's got her daily show, except for Wednesdays, on Revolution Radio at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 in the evening. There's your drive home show, folks, just for you.
I'm going to tune in. Her voice makes my pants tighter.
That's hilarious. Well, I'm glad I could help.
And on that note, you got me speechless almost.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, but on a serious note, I'm very happy to have been part of this call today. So thank you so much for having me, Brent Holland, an amazing host and also well respected among your peers. I have to tell you that I hear nothing but great things about you, Brent, and I'm so glad that you were able to get some great guests today, as always.
Thank you, my friend. I also want to thank Practical Madman for being on the phone. I want to thank Jim, who was on the phone earlier. Jordan Maxwell, man, you've been a super trooper for putting in the 2 hours, and it's been a real pleasure. We'll have to get you back on real soon. Hang on a second, though. Don't go anywhere. And I want to thank Kasey Ferguson. In all cases, folks, with our guest tonight, www.nightfrightshow.com. Click on tonight's guests information. That'll take you right to their websites. Enjoy Kasey's podcast. It's terrific. And he deserves full kudos for doing what he does. Jordan, just one more time, real quick. We've only got 30 seconds. Tell the folks where they can donate money for your
legal defense.
Thank you, my friend. Yes.
Yeah. My legal defense is on Jordan Maxwell Show. Very simple. JordanMaxwellShow.com. And there's a button there that says if you'd like to help me and my legal problems of getting my life back and my work back and be able to get back to doing what I was doing before I was ripped off. We got to do it in court. We got to do it right, and I don't have the money for it. So Jordan Maxwell Show. And if you want to donate, I would very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. And there we have it, folks. We'll see you next week. I'm Brent Holland from Night Fright. I want to sing the laurels of Kelly Logue. Kelly Logue puts my website together for me. He is an integral in keeping this show afloat, let me tell you, because the show has taken off, as fans of this show will know, and I can't do it all anymore. I used to be able to. I can't. I've only got 2 arms and 2 legs. Kelly, God bless you, my friend. God bless everybody out there. Thank you for joining us.